Oh, come on. Why would I waste my time recording a video about a silly internet argument when it's really obvious that I'm not going to be able to change people's minds no matter what I say? Oh wait, you mean to tell me that if I do this video, I can come up with my own crazy conspiracy theories to ramble about endlessly? Sold! Today we will be discussing how Paizo is secretly maneuvering to take over the TTRPG industry on this episode of The Local Disaster Tour Guide. Hello travelers and tourists, my name is Mark and I am the local disaster tour guide. That's right, I'm a storyteller who is not at all concerned that Paizo is publishing Abomination Vaults in 5e. Welcome to a journey through the fantastic world of TTRPGs like Pathfinder and Starfinder. Today I'm going to be doing what is basically an opinion video. We're going to be talking about the news from last month where Paizo announced that they are publishing their very popular Abomination Vaults adventure path in 5th edition. Now, that news has sparked some controversy in the TTRPG space, to put it lightly. Some people think that this is an intelligent business move that Paizo is making, while others have claimed that it is a surefire sign that Pathfinder 2e is going down in flames and we should all abandon ship before the terrible crash happens. And to be honest, at first, I didn't even want to do a video on this topic. I honestly thought that this particular debate would blow over kind of quickly, but I keep seeing this conversation happen. I keep seeing people on both sides kind of put their thoughts out there, and controversy is good for generating traffic on your YouTube channel. I wanted to dive into the conversation to offer my own unique perspective. Sure, they'll believe that. But no, in all seriousness, I wanted to talk about my thoughts on this particular announcement, what I think it means for Paizo, what I think it means for the gaming space, and more importantly, I kind of want to talk about the question behind the question. Everybody is arguing about what this announcement means for Paizo, but I think that there is a bigger question that people are wrestling with that is a little more engaging to me. So I thought it'd be interesting to explore that topic. And allow me to say up front, I realize any conversation about controversial topics on the internet has a tendency to go poorly. But the thing is, I have a fantastic community here. I know that you all are amazing, and I trust you all to engage with this topic in a healthy fashion. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. Whether you agree with me or not, I welcome you to jump into the comments, give your observations, your insights, and to talk about what this might signal for the future of Paizo, of Wizards of the Coast, and even of the TTRPG space as a whole. Alright, so the way I'm going to structure this video is simple. First, I'm going to propose 3 different scenarios that this announcement, 5e Abomination Vaults, could potentially portend. I'm going to go through each of these scenarios, and I'll go ahead and tell you, one of these scenarios is my personal opinion of what I think is really going on, and the other 2 scenarios reflect what I think are extreme and unlikely scenarios that we will probably never see. But regardless, I'm going to consider all 3 scenarios, and in an effort to maybe calm the waters a little bit, talk about why all 3 scenarios are potentially a good thing. After we discuss those 3 scenarios, I'm then going to highlight what I think the real question at the heart of this whole conversation is, and then give my thoughts on what I think the answer to that question might be, and then finally I will close out this video by talking about what I think the focus of the conversation should be on this topic or other announcements that we might hear in the future. But with that out of the way, let's get started. So let's begin with the scenarios. There are 3 scenarios, but I want to stress no matter which of these scenarios is ultimately the true scenario, I do think that each scenario would represent a positive opportunity in the TTRPG sphere overall. So scenario 1 is this: Dungeons and Dragons wins. Pathfinder goes down, Wizards of the Coast purchases Paizo, and completely consumes the Paizoverse. Scenario number 2. Scenario number 2 is one that I call Capitalism is not a bloodthirsty battle to the death. And then scenario number 3 is referred to as Pathfinder wins. Let's talk about them in turn. One of the opinions that is thrown out quite a bit recently in regards to this announcement is that Paizo, in moving their adventures to the 5e gaming space, is essentially ceding ground to Dungeons & Dragons and admitting that their products are not performing well. The mentality behind this is that Paizo is either losing ground or surrendering ground, and in either case it represents a destructive direction for Pathfinder 2e as a game. Now, even though I am presenting this as a singular point, there is a scale to this scenario and to the other scenarios I might offer. Some people who fall into this camp see D&D wins as a complete apocalypse scenario. Pathfinder 2e is just, it's on its way out the door, there is no recovery, the ship is sinking, the iceberg has been hit. Throw whatever metaphor you want at the screen. You get my point. The idea behind people who hold this extreme is that Paizo has lost. There are others who might consider this a D&D win scenario, while not taking it to that much of an extreme. But for those who are predicting such a scenario, they ultimately see Paizo shrinking or losing ground, or Pathfinder 2e failing as a game. The end result is, in short order or in long term, Wizards of the Coast buys up Paizo, removes competition from the field, and game over. Now, it's easy to see how this scenario could be viewed as a nightmare scenario, and as someone who is a fan of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it is my favorite role-playing game. It is certainly not an outcome that I would personally desire, but I do want to offer at least a small ray of light, and it looks something like this. This is Dragon Magazine, issue number 340, published in February of 2006. And this magazine is one of the best RPG products I ever bought. I'm serious. If you've seen my RPG reviews that I do on this channel, you know that utility is one of the most important things in any RPG product that I buy. I ask the question, how much use am I going to get out of an RPG product? And when I rank the gaming resources, the different books and magazines and just various things that I have accessed as a game master, this is easily in the top 10 of products in terms of overall utility in my entire gaming career. I'm not exaggerating. Now you may notice Dungeons & Dragons is at the top of the magazine. But what you might not see is down here, Paizo Publishing. Okay, so I think you see the point I'm trying to make here. Scenario number 1, the D&D wins scenario, the scenario where Wizards of the Coast buys Paizo and pushes Pathfinder out of the market, is still not necessarily a nightmare scenario for me, because I remember a time where Wizards of the Coast and Paizo worked together, and working together, they made really good gaming products. Even if Paizo shut its doors tomorrow, the people behind Paizo, the incredible game designers that work there, aren't just going to magically disappear. And if Wizards of the Coast buys out Paizo, one of the things they would get from that purchase would be some of the great minds behind Paizo, and then we would see Wizards of the Coast products being produced by some of the incredible designers at Paizo. In essence, scenario number 1, D&D wins, is still potentially a win for the gaming community because we would see what would happen if you had the greatest minds at Wizards and the greatest minds at Paizo once again working together 2 decades later with 2 decades of game design experience and practice under their belt. Sure, it would break my heart to see Pathfinder 2e go down, but really at the end of the day, it would just be another evolution in the gaming scene, and ultimately I think we would see good products and fun games come out of that. Scenario number 2 is what I referred to as capitalism isn't a bloodthirsty battle to the death. A lot of people who respond to this announcement by Paizo see Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons inevitably as pure enemies. In their mind, there can be only one. One product must reign supreme, and the other product must inevitably fall. And the thing about that scenario is, that's not real-world capitalism. That's the hysterical version of capitalism that gets portrayed in movies and media and doesn't reflect the reality of companies in the real world. Right now, I am doing capitalism. Seriously, right now, I am engaging in capitalism. I own my own company, the Local Disaster Tour Guide, got the business license right there behind the camera. I am producing a product, these videos. I am putting that product out to society, and occasionally people pay me for that product. Literally capitalism. And here's the thing, there are a lot of people who are doing the exact same thing I'm doing in the exact same space. Right now you have Nonat and Black Dragon Gaming and Deadly D8 and Team Player Gaming and all of these other YouTubers who are making Pathfinder 2e content. They are competing with me. And you want to know something? I hope they do well. Seriously. I am not jealous of Nonat. I am not jealous of Black Dragon Gaming or Team Player Gaming or How It's Played or any of the other Pathfinder 2e content creators. I also do some Starfinder content, and there are several great Starfinder creators out there. And my buddy over at Goat King Dice, I've pitched his channel a few times. He's small, he's just getting started, but I'm excited to see his channel grow because I think he's doing good stuff. We're all in the same business, we're all in the same space, and yet their success doesn't subtract from my success. If anything, their success makes the space that I am playing in larger. When Nonat does well, when Black Dragon Gaming does well, when all of these other channels do well, they are creating a larger and more open space for me to come in with my own business and present my own product, and it creates more opportunity for me to succeed. What I'm trying to say here is, scenario 2 is, Paizo and Wizards of the Coast can both win. You can have a situation that is good for Paizo and good for Wizards and good for the entire gaming community. It's not a zero-sum game where one person has to lose at the expense of another. Two major gaming companies working together can and should be a good sign for the community in that it's creating a better space for the larger TTRPG community as a whole. But you know what? That sounded way too rational for a video on the internet, so let's get to scenario number 3. Paizo's evil plan to take over Wizards of the Coast. Yes. You see, up until now, we have been talking about Dungeons & Dragons as if they were this monolithic entity incapable of being defeated, as if they existed to crush their opposition, and everyone is helpless standing before them. But that's treating Paizo like a side actor. What if, just follow me for a second, what if Paizo is actually the scheming Sith Lord in this scenario? What if Paizo is capitalizing upon their own strengths and using that to make early forays into Dungeons & Dragons' share of the market? What if, instead of seeing this as a loss or a surrender, we see this as an opening volley, an initial strike, the first step in Paizo's long-term plan to dominate the TTRPG space. We do know that Paizo is famous for producing very high-quality adventure paths, and even many D&D 5e supporters would tell you that the adventure path space for 5e is lackluster in a lot of regards. What if this represents an easy first victory that allows Paizo to gain a foothold in territory that once belonged to Wizards of the Coast? What if the Wizards' magic is finally running out and a new contender is taking over the scene? I hope that was sufficiently conspiratorial to satiate the whims of the internet. We'll see if it worked. Okay, so those are the three scenarios. D&D wins, Paizo wins, and then the middle scenario where we stop viewing capitalism as a bloodthirsty battle to the death and allow both D&D and Paizo to win. I think anyone watching this video can tell where my opinion on this subject lies. I am very solidly in the middle camp where Paizo and Wizards of the Coast working together is a good thing. I think that this represents a win both for Paizo and for Wizards, that the Pathfinder 2e community and the D&D community are both going to benefit from this particular announcement and this particular product. I think ultimately what this is going to do is it's going to create a better space inside of the TTRPG community, and I think it's going to help the TTRPG community to grow and increase the connections between different sectors of that community. I'll be honest, I like seeing different game companies work together. I remember seeing some of the crazy crossover experiments between White Wolf and Wizards of the Coast back in the day. I've seen all kinds of different situations where different companies come together and work on projects together and try things together, and it's fun to see big players in this space both winning at the same time, because ultimately when the big players in this space are winning together, what they are doing is they are creating a better space for everyone who is part of the TTRPG community. Pathfinder 2e is my favorite game, and I've even said that I don't personally invest in D&D 5e. It's not because I don't like the game. I do like the game and I do play it. It just doesn't really fit a need for my gaming table, so there's not much need for me to buy the game. But I personally want to see Wizards of the Coast win, and I want to see D&D 5e do well. Paizo winning and doing well is not an exclusive concept in my mind. I want to see a variety of games do well. Speaking of Paizo, I don't just want to see Pathfinder do well, I want to see Starfinder do well. I'm a big fan of Call of Cthulhu. I want to see that game grow and develop and do more amazing things. I occasionally enjoy a good game of Paranoia with my friends, and I would love to see Paranoia gain some more prominence in the market. And even though I don't play White Wolf anymore, White Wolf was a big part of my early gaming career, and I would love to see their products do well. There are a lot of great games out there, and personally, if you ask which game do I want to see grow and do well inside of the TTRPG community, my answer is all of them. So when I see this announcement that Paizo is taking one of their best adventure paths and putting it into 5e, I see that as a strong bridge between two major players in the market, and ultimately I see that as a good thing, because in my mind, I want both communities to win. But here's where we need to have an important distinction. I think the vast majority of people probably occupy a similar space. Even if Pathfinder 2e is hands down your favorite game, I don't think the majority of 2e players would ever say, I just hope D&D crashes and burns. And vice versa, I don't think the majority of D&D 5e players have that attitude towards Pathfinder, or Starfinder, or Cthulhu, or whatever. I think most people inside of this hobby have a mentality that they want everyone to win. So what I think is really going on here is not so much a question of, is Paizo winning or losing? Is Wizards winning or losing? Who's taking the top spot? I don't think that's the real question that's being asked. I think the real question that's being asked is Paizo doing well, or are they doing poorly? Not, are they winning or losing relative to Wizards of the Coast? Scratch Wizards of the Coast from the equation. I think what people are really asking is Paizo just winning or losing? Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? Or more specifically, is Pathfinder 2e a strong game or a weak game, and how can we know? I have certainly played different TTRPGs that have been ultimately unhealthy, that have died prematurely or have just gone downhill. I have certainly seen RPG product lines that I was invested in ultimately falter and fail, and I think some of the people who are worried about this Abomination Vaults in 5e announcement, I think what they're really worried about is they're trying to figure out, do I still want to invest in Pathfinder 2e or Paizo products if the game or the company isn't doing well? And so I think what we really need to ask and really need to answer is, what state is Paizo in and what state is Pathfinder 2e in? And to that, honestly, when I take other game companies out of the picture, when I just look at what Paizo is doing, and when I ask what do they have going on, my personal opinion is it seems like Paizo is doing well. Now, obviously, I can't pull out their specific business records and tell you, yay, nay, this is where they're at, this is where they're going. I'm not an insider. And, to be completely fair, the world's been kind of crazy for 2 years, and a lot of companies took a really bad hit from the pandemic and everything that's been going on since then. I could rationally see how anyone could look at any company and ask the question, are they still okay after the 2 years of crazy that this world has endured with nothing else being a part of the picture? By the way, game companies are particularly susceptible to all of this because the shipping problems that have been associated with the pandemic and the fallout of the pandemic hit game companies harder than it does other companies that might be in the market. And to top it all off, Paizo did launch their flagship game, Pathfinder 2e, in 2019, right before the pandemic hit, so they only had about 6 months before all of this insanity crashed into them. So I do think there is a valid source of question, how is Paizo doing? But what I would like to do is I would like to give you 2 reasons that I'm not worried about Paizo. There are 2 things that I have seen in the last couple of years that make me think that Paizo is doing okay. What does okay mean exactly in terms of numbers? I couldn't tell you, but there are a couple of things that I see that I feel speak to the fact that Paizo is very healthy. The first one is Wrath of the Righteous, the CRPG published by Owlcat Games. When that game launched, that game was all over YouTube, and people were responding well to it. People enjoyed Wrath of the Righteous, and there were a lot of really positive reviews. And I've seen a lot of channels dive into Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. I've seen a lot of positive press for that game. There are some people who would argue that Wrath of the Righteous was the best game of the year last year, and I'm not in the video game scene, so I couldn't tell you if that's accurate or not, but I can see how a lot of people could hold that game up and say, this was the best game of the year. I can see how that might be someone's opinion. And to say that a product based off something that Paizo wrote is a contender for best video game of the year, I feel like Paizo's doing good. That's good press. That's a strong statement of the company across various types of media. I feel like that is a testimony to Paizo is doing well. Let me give you another one. Beetle and Grimm's Pandemonium Warehouse. Recently, they launched the Complete Character Chronicles line for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I actually got to review a couple of those products for my channel. And Beetle and Grimm's has explicitly said that they are interested in engaging with the Pathfinder 2e community. I've got another Beetle and Grimm's review that's going to be coming up on this channel soon. I haven't figured out exactly when I'm going to get that up, but hopefully it won't be too long. But Beetle and Grimm's produces what is essentially premium gaming products. The Complete Character Chronicle books, those are $40 products for what is essentially a really nice character sheet. Now, this is personal opinion, but if you ask me, when you have a premium gaming product company looking at the Pathfinder 2e sphere and saying, we want to get in on that, that tells me that Pathfinder 2e must be doing well in the space that is the TTRPG community. Now, is Pathfinder going to make the same waves that Wizards of the Coast does? Of course not. Baldur's Gate 3 has a much higher budget than Wrath of the Righteous ever did or even had a dream of having. Wizards of the Coast can operate on a scale that Paizo can't, and that is a fair assessment, but when you stop and look, other companies want to get in and work with Paizo. That tells me that other companies are seeing Paizo as a strong mover and shaker and player within this community. And to be honest, Wrath of the Righteous did well, and now there's a big push towards Baldur's Gate 3. It almost looks to me like Wizards of the Coast is reacting to Paizo. They're seeing some of the things Paizo is doing and going, hey, that's a good idea, we should get in that game too. And honestly, when you have a company that seems to be leading the way in the industry, even if they're not the biggest player in the industry, that speaks to the health of the company for me. What I'm saying is personally, I think that Paizo and Pathfinder 2nd Edition are in a good place. And I think they are going good places. I don't agree with everything they do, and they certainly have had their missteps, but overall, I see signs of a healthy company and a strong game, and I am hopeful and excited to see where Paizo goes next. I think concern is understandable, but ultimately, personally, I think that Paizo's doing well. But to back up just a little bit, I think ultimately what we should keep in mind in these conversations is it's best when everybody wins. When gaming companies are working together and making great games, when game designers are growing and the industry is improving, when connections are being built across different spheres of the gaming world, all of this improves the TTRPG space. And personally for me, as someone who has been gaming for a long time, I consider all of these things to be positive developments because I think it's ultimately going to help what is the TTRPG sphere to grow and bring more people in. But those are my opinions. Let me turn the conversation over to you. What do you think about the Abomination Vaults and 5e announcement? Do you think that Paizo is surrendering? Do you think that Paizo is scheming to take over? Or do you think that this is just two companies working together to make a product that's probably going to do well? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, be a fantastic community and treat each other well. But if you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can check out my free Discord page or my Patreon, both linked in the video description. In any case, thank you for being here, thank you for being part of the conversation, and have a wonderful day.